Now,
Welcome to this wonderful episode of Podcasters Unleashed. And I'm here with my regular co-host and friends from across the world. We have Simon Rushdie. How are you,
all right.
Simon?
Hi, Victor. I'm here in London, financial capital of Europe. If you want to hear about, someone's changed my. If you want to hear about live, real stories, real riders with real stories, listen to my podcast, Taxi Chronicles. I don't know who changed that. That was meant to be African Investor Stories, but still. Over to you, Victor.
Yeah, we know you're multi-talented. You've got two podcasts running back to back, so we could understand that. Hello, Carla. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you, Victor. I'm Carla from the Wonder and Wellbeing podcast for parents and teachers of kids between the ages of 5 and 14, where we talk all about well-being and education and everything that connects the two.
Where are you joining us from today?
I'm joining you from Derbyshire, the Peak District in Derbyshire.
Oh, wow. Yay, Matilda, how are you?
Hello, everyone. I'm Matilda, host of Coffee with Matilda, A Journey to South. And I'm joining you, Victor, from Yerevan.
From where?
Yerevan, Armenia.
Oh, Armenia. Yes. Hello, Carla. How are you today?
Thanks, Victor. I'm good. I'm great. So my podcast, if you want to check it out, it's called Women in Stories Podcast. It's about stories of women expats in Paris. And I'm joining you from an unknown place.
Let's leave it at that. Yeah, Nelson. Where are you joining us from?
Well, I mean, I hate to have to follow Kaola with her unknown place, Okay, so I am joining from South Florida, Miami and Fort Lauderdale, and I'm Nelson J. Zambrano, the host of Investing in America, where we talk about how to invest in the United States. And we have very interesting entrepreneurs as well, to include people that show up from unknown places. Thank you.
Oh, great. Well, that's cool. Well, I'm not from an unknown place. I'm not broadcasting from an unknown place. I'm in Lagos, Nigeria right now. And I'm Victor Osio. Tonight, I'm going to be your host. I host the Diaspora Entrepreneurs Podcast, where we help Africans and Caribbeans that are in the diaspora to kick off the 9 to 5 into a lifestyle of freedom. So today we'll be talking about a very, very important tool, or however you're going to call it, money. That's what we'll be talking about today. So how does money make you feel? Yeah. So the subject of money has been something that for the last 100 years, humans have been striving, killing, maiming, making love, enjoying themselves, doing all sorts of things just to acquire more, while some are very content. So today, I would like to start off with you, Nelson. Say, what is the one word about money that you got from your audience today?
You know what? There's not really one word. There's a couple of words. And as a matter of fact, I still have words coming in. But one word that came in from a banker was job. Another word that came in, I went to the Women's Prosperity Network. Words there that came in from women were scared. Another one was receiving. Another one was necessary. So it's all across the spectrum, these words. Interestingly enough, none of them said abundance or the words having to do with calmness or prosperity. There was a certain amount of all these scarcity words.
Okay, great. To you, Hala, what was the one word that you got from your audience today?
The one word that kept repeating, each time it was necessity. So I just realized that people feel the need to have money, but I think it doesn't buy all the pleasures that people that want to have in their life. So I think we need also to respect what money can or can't do in our life, because
Whoa,
it's
that's
just
great.
a
Simon, what's the
mechanism.
one word? Oh, sorry to jump in. I thought you were finished by then. Can you just repeat that?
Yeah, because I realized that I was doing also research. I just wanted to know the definition about money. And for me also, before I really didn't realize the real definition behind it. But I just figured out it's just a mechanism or a tool to have whatever we want from our goals and to do what matters for us the most in this life.
Whoa, that's a great one. Simon, I don't know if you did the poll. Can you hear me, Simon?
Yes, I can hear you, Victor.
What? Yeah, I don't know if you did the poll, but you asked the question, what's the one word you got from your audience today when you hear the word money?
It's not just one word, it's a number of various different words that come up. Is greed, lust, envy. It's quite dramatic, to be honest. As in, people, security. There's a number of different words that come to people's minds from the audience in relation to money. For me, I just think of a tool. Money's just a tool, but it is a tool that manifests who you are at your darkest moments.
Oh, great. I could totally understand that, because that brings me to the question, like Matilda, why do you think people feel like this when money is mentioned? They start going all over the place.
I think Victor and audience, I think it's very important to look at what was their upbringing, like what was the conversation in their household about money, what kind of a culture they have. I've seen people with different culture look at money different way. They handle money differently, and you can have a positive outlook about it or negative outlook about it. For me, money is comfort, and I try to look at it positively. So because I believe money is energy, so money will come to me, towards me. I can talk about it more detail about the culture and the history of people, and even your
Okay.
language affects your money decisions. I've
All
researched
right. We'll get to that. Carla, do you agree with Matilda? Why do people feel this way when it comes to money?
I do agree with Matilda. I love the way she said that money is energy, because I think it is as well. It's a form of energy, because I also think it's a man-made. That I think that's a word that I would have said would have been my word. Money itself is the man-made in the sense of what we know today. But the concept of exchanging something for things of value is not man-made. That's where the energy aspect of it comes in. And I think that's often why people maybe have the fears and the stress around money, and also what Matilda said about how you learn to view money from a child. I think we'll talk about a bit more about that later on, so I won't go into it too much, but I do think it is related to energy, and how you view it is really important.
Great. Any comment, Nelson?
No, we don't have any comments coming in right now. No comments coming in.
Okay, great. So Matilda,
you know what? Actually, we do have a comment that just came in from Rich Meter Maid. Greed is what's ruining the world. It's never enough. It's never enough money for most people. For most people, I live in Puerto Rico, and the most poorest people are the happiest. So I'll read it again. Greed, and then I think a world of barter is much better. I think a world of barter would be better. No one will use more than they need.
Okay, great. So Hala, Matilda just mentioned something that because we are all from different background and different parts of the world. I am an African origin. I am from the western part of Africa, so I'm Nigerian, and you are from the top part of Africa. So we have different cultures when it comes to money. And Matilda just mentioned that the actual language that we speak, what we from childhood, how we're brought up. So, how does your culture relate with money?
Yeah, actually, not only the language, it's also the political system and how the government also help their people. So if there is no equivalent, or if there is a lot of corruption in in a government, people will um, um, tend to make higher prices, or tend to be more stressful about their financial stability. So I think not only the language that plays a role in the relationship with money. There are a lot of factors that came into the equation. And also, like for me, when I lived in Egypt in the early 2003, 2005. Well, I was a kid, but I was in the middle school, and also I tried to realize how people handle money uh, from from that period. And when I came back and see how people handle it, it's much worse. Why? Because also the political system has changed. But it didn't change to the better; it changed to the worse. So the devaluation of the pound here, the currency, it led to more poverty here in Egypt. So I do think that also government plays a role with the relationship with money of each individual.
Okay. Yeah. Simon, do you hold the same views? How does, before we get into that, how does your cultural background relates to money or relates with money?
And one second here, we have a comment here. So Reach Meter made 72% of the children in Puerto Rico live in poverty. Our government, local government, I'm assuming, here in Puerto Rico is very corrupt. So that's from Rich Meter made. Back to you, Victor and Simon.
It's hard to say money is the be all of all evil, but when it comes to culture, I think it's also you've got to take into consideration class, because depending on what class you are in society, quite a few of the times depends on how you think and how you operate. And from my cultural background, which you could say is mixed, I'm parents Jamaican, but I'm British born. We've got a big history of slavery, and because of the slavery element, there's an element of you need to show your wealth now. You need to show that you're better than you used to be, and all that glamoristic. And with that comes issues, let's say. But then that also depends on how educated you are and you as an individual person. So it's a concoction of things, I would say.
Okay, that's great. Matilda, I know you've got when we're discussing before now, you've got a variety of things to say, because you are Armenian, you US citizen, you live in Paris, or you lived in Paris, so, and you've got like kind of a different perspective to this, because you see how different people value money. So how does the different cultures that you've experienced relate with money?
You know, it's very interesting. I've been thinking about it this couple of days. And I kind of like, for example, in Armenia, you don't talk about money problem. You don't talk with friends. It's a kind of a taboo subject. You will never see someone saying, "Oh, I don't have money." You share it maybe to very, very close people. In America, people can comfortably say, "You know what, I don't have the money for rent today or this month, or I'm tight, or I don't have the money to go out." It's not a shameful act. In Iran, yeah, people don't talk. I think in Middle East, people don't talk about not having money. or not having difficult. They don't talk about their difficulties about money. In France, I think people like to play. They like to downplay their money. They want to show less, whereas in Middle East they want to show more than what they have. So it's very interesting how they look at it. But I want to mention something that I think it's interesting for the listeners and for you guys. That I was keep saying how family, how culture, how even your language, your religion can affect your decisions about money. In your family, for example, if as a child your parents and other like adult influencers didn't view money as a learning experience, you may currently feel a sense of overwhelm or shame around your finances. But if you watched adults hide financial mistakes or worry about money related decisions, you may feel anxious about money in your adult life. But if your maybe parents were talking about money in a very normal sense, maybe you don't have any conflict about it, and your decisions about your finances are better. I can go deeper, Victor, maybe later on, or if it's okay now, how different studies show different cultures and different countries look at savings and spending in a different way.
Okay, that's great. That's great. And Carla, you are, should I use the word, an educator? So how, and you've been in the Middle East for a very long time now, teaching. So I've got two questions for you, but one will come in later. Let's just finish the question about culture. So the culture you are Scottish, Jamaican, and you've actually been in the Middle East for a very long time. So how does this culture relate with money contrast?
I think what I'd definitely say about culture is there's two ways of looking at culture. So you've got the culture in terms of your cultural background, in the sense of your family and their origins, and also where you grow up. If you're like me, where you come from partial or a fully immigrant or whatever, people who have traveled and settled in different parts of the world, then you've got all those cultures, that are mixed in. But then you've also got the culture that you adopt for yourself based on either where you live or what you learn about money, like Matilda was saying, about your experiences as you're going through life. And I've seen quite a lot. I saw, obviously, when I grew up in Britain, I grew up in a household with my Jamaican dad who had left his country and gone to the UK and had quite a difficult time financially because he wasn't from that country and he faced a lot of obstacles. And I think that that's very relevant to a lot of people around the world who face barriers when it comes to economic progress or economic movement. I think that there are some systems in place around the world that stop certain people from moving easily economically. And is very unfair, but it is there and it can't be denied. And I think that is part of some people's culture. To struggle financially is just a given thing for many, many people around the world. And it isn't because they don't know about money always. Sometimes they do know about money, but when they apply what they know, there are lots of barriers in their way. But then also I learned when I went to the Middle East and I lived there, a very different culture. So there was a very affluent culture amongst a lot of the Arab people in Qatar. And that affects their attitude towards things like spending and the future. Some people have a very dismissive attitude towards saving, even when they have very high incomes, which is very different, for example, from Britain. When you find people with a very high income, they are very into savings and investment. Whereas in Qatar, I saw a large number of people who they didn't care about savings or investment at all because maybe they hadn't had the experience of having money for a long time. And so they hadn't made the mistakes that maybe Americans and British and a lot of other people who knew about money systems had. They hadn't had that experience. And so money was a kind of a novelty for them. And it was all about changing it and swapping it for things that would make you fancy and make you look like you had money, which Simon touched on earlier. And funnily enough, they don't have a history of slavery, but they still have that attitude of, I've got money and look at all this that I have. And that is a culture. I think that is a culture that you find around the world. You see it on Instagram a lot with kids. They don't even have stuff, but they will buy stuff or take pictures of things that are not theirs and post it on Instagram to make people think that they've got money. And I think all of those are all different types of culture. So when you're talking about culture, you have to remember all those different elements. It's not just about your cultural background. It's, many ways, including common cultures or popular culture, which is what governs a lot of people's lives now. It's all about pop culture, what's in, what's fashionable, and what gets you likes. And money is very heavily linked to that.
Well, that's great. That's great. So, regards, because what's it called now? Reads, one of the comments that came in now was, you mentioned 72% of the children in Puerto Rico are like, so because you are an educator and you actually teach kids, so I think you're more qualified to speak on this platform. So when do you think when do you think children should be educated when it comes to financial education, same as the gender equality or the gender talk or the race talk that is being pushed in the society right now? When do you think kids should be taught about financial education?
I would probably say as soon as they start asking for stuff, as soon as they get to the age where they start requesting things, then they need to have that money talk. That's when they need to be educated about money and about the idea of exchanging money for goods and services, and the concept of value, and how much you're prepared to swap of your money that you have in your hand for a particular experience or thing. I think once they can understand the concept of asking for things and getting things, then you can introduce the idea of money to them. But people often think they can't, and they leave it too late. That's what I see. People leave it way too late to talk to kids about money because they think they're not going to understand. But they do understand very early. If you ask a child, even of maybe around 3 years old here in the UK, would you like a £1 coin or a 20 pence? They will tell you they want the £1 coin very quickly. And if they can do that, then they know the difference. And they know that the more money you have, the more you can buy with it. And so once they know that, then you can start introducing concepts to them that are really going to help them later in life. And I think that basic concept, even about when you hand over money, you have to decide if what you're handing it over and receiving in return is equivalent or greater in value to the money. I think a lot of people swap their money for things that are not greater or equivalent in value, and they don't realize that until later on. So the earlier they would learn that lesson, the better. And that's just one that I know I've seen that is very important for kids to learn.
Just to jump in there, Victor, just give a bit of a personal note. My daughter, she's 16, and she's phoning or texting me rather, saying, Dad, she wants money for tracksuit bottoms. So I said, what for? You never exercise. We went to JD Sports and bought you a whole outfit, and we actually bought you two, and you didn't even walk around the park. So she's trying to convince me. So I thought about it, and then the next day I had keeping in mind her mother said, stop spoiling her. So I'm on dangerous ground here. And I've turned around to her, and I've actually said to her, when you ask somebody for money, first of all, you want to phone them. You don't want to text them. And you're better off asking them, telling them your situation and asking them if they have any advice how you can get money, how you can make money. And then she paused and she thought about that. And next thing I know, later on in the day, she sent me a text saying this is what she's selling on, what is it, eBay or one of these. There's a kind of eBay for kids. So she can get money to buy the latest of whatever she wants. So that is me just showing to her that you've got to try and help yourself. You've got to build a relationship with money that you can help yourself, not just go to someone for money. I also explained to her that you said you want 4 children when you're older. If, God forbid, you're on your own, you will need, if you can do hair, for instance, like plait hair, cane row, and your kids want to go out, have their McDonald's or takeaway on Friday night, you could just quickly do someone's hair and then you've got your money rather than just struggling. And so she started to understand that concept. But this is what we're coming back to where Carla says about you've got to take that time and that energy to put it on them and trying to save dad's wallet, really, in that respect of things.
Oh yeah. Carla, sorry, Hala.
Hey, one second, guys. Victor, we just got a comment right here from Rich Meter Maid. The people here get the stimulus money, here is the United States, and they blow through it buying non-essential stuff, huge TV, gaming systems, etc. Then they have no money in savings. So this kind of goes back to what Carla and Simon are saying right there. People have no concept or value of the value of money itself and those savings. Okay.
There is a perspective, Nelson, on that. They've been taught that a huge television and a gaming system has a high value. That's the issue. That's the problem there with people who buy those things when they have no savings. Savings has no value. That's the message they've been given. There is no value in savings, but there is value in a huge TV and a gaming system because that's entertainment, and entertainment has become a big focus in people's lives. So there it is, that swapping of something for equal or greater value. They consider it to be so.
Right. And as a matter of fact, we've got from Katrina Young, my little one has a GoHenry, it's a savings system, which rewards his chores with pocket money. It really helps his sense of achievement as well as watching his pot grow. By the way, we're not talking about marijuana, pot grow, okay? So, all right, back to you guys.
Yeah, we're not talking about marijuana anyways. Yeah, Hala, did you harass your dad's wallet or you just let it grow? So when did you start when did you start learning how to save, or did you get these financial money talks at home?
Actually, my dad was a very strict man, so I couldn't ask him for a lot of things to buy. But I do remember I was always playing outside of the house, and I really wanted to buy candies and stuff. So I really tried to see how people negotiate. So the negotiations with people could work to play. To try to save money. So, for example, if I go outside, I want to buy something which is very expensive, and as a kid, I don't have it. So I would try to negotiate with the buyer to reduce it to half price so I can buy it. Or I could just say, well, maybe you can just, I will pay you after tomorrow. But the negotiation is something that we should learn in an early age, because everything should be negotiable. Even if you want to have a high pay raise, like when I got my first work after graduation, I really wanted to have a high pay raise, and they didn't want to give it to me in the beginning. But I was firm. I was like, would you accept this amount of money to give it to me, or I will leave? So you need to know your values, and really to have this negotiable techniques, so you can really have what you want to learn. So without negotiations, I think you can't do money. And I think Nelson, he is the right type of person to talk about it, because he's in the investment and he knows about that.
Yeah. Nelson, before that, Nelson, Matilda, do you agree with what Hala just said? Do you just go out to buy, or you have your negotiation skills?
Well, I'm an only child, so I didn't have a lot of negotiation skills, or I didn't need to have a lot of negotiation skills. I was okay, I think.
So you just go outside and buy. You don't save. You didn't save your dad's wallet, did you?
And actually, in Armenian culture, you're always your parents' child, so you can always ask for money. There's no cut-off time. You can stay with your parents as long as you want. Sometimes till you're not married, you can stay with your parents. So I think in a way it's a bad culture, because in this particular section, because youth don't understand about money. You don't understand about the value of money. You know, you're always kind of dependent to your parents.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Iranian culture is like that. Armenian culture is like that. So you can always ask money from
Yeah,
your parents.
I'll say the Nigerian culture is like that, but now that since we're being more westernized, now we see people leaving the house at the age of 30, they're still in the mom and dad's house. At the age of 40, they're still there. And if some of them are not married, they're still there. So, which I agree with you, it is a bad thing. So, but now that we are more westernized, we see people at the age of 21 going out there to like hustle on their own, going out looking for money by themselves. We've started changing that perspective. What do you think, Nelson?
Sorry, Victor, I want to add something. I wish we had more of like Armenian culture. We had more of a Jewish concept about money. A lot of Armenians would have been rich. You know, how to invest and how to.
What do you think? What is the Jewish concept about money?
I mean, they teach their children from a very young age how to save, how to invest. They invest in real estate very young age, and it's very beautiful to see that. You know, it comes back to their history. You know, Armenians, for example, they never had safety. They were always in a bad situation. Somehow they never learned how to save. But for example, if you look at a Jewish concept, the religion even also teaches you how to save for bad days, you know. And it's interesting, Victor. Some countries like South Korea, China, because most of them practice Taoism, they save big chunk of their salary in their savings. So it's interesting how culture, how religion can affect your even savings as well.
I think the concept of Taoism is about living in a minimalistic lifestyle where you just live basic, and that should be prone to savings, right? Nelson,
and one second, we've got a comment here from Samantha Cunningham. Whether you have a lot of money or a little bit, it's important that you have money literacy, understand the value of money, ideally from a young age. So again, that kind of goes back to what Carla was saying, and also actually Carla and Matilda. And then one second. And then from Ritz Meter Maid, the minimum wage in Puerto Rico is $7.25. But the employers don't want to pay. So they pay people under the table at $5 or $6 an hour. We try to give small jobs to the local people. My husband paid someone $50 to clean underneath our stairs outside. I don't believe in screwing people over, but I think paying $50 is a bit too much. Okay, Mr. Husband. And my husband is setting a precedent or presidency. How do you determine the real value of pay for someone's work?
Okay, we'll answer that question. But before then, one thing.
One second. I want to give an opportunity here to Kaola, some Arabic, right? So, marhaba, young lady, marhaba.
Comment which is more useful for us. The last comment he gave it at 8:28. I will just translate it. I'm not going to. He said, القناعة خير من جمع الأموال والكلام عن في القناعة كنز لا يفنى. He wanted to say in English that contentment is better than raising money, and contentment is an infinite treasure. So if you are content with what you have, it's better than raising money and talking about it.
I agree with that.
There you go. Couldn't have said it better, or any one of us.
The saying goes, usually the most poorest people on the planet are usually the happiest. And from my traveling the world, I would say I've seen that a lot. The poorer people are, assuming they're not in England, they're really happy. Those are usually poor people in hot countries, by the way, not countries where you have to be in shelter every day because it's too cold, the climate's terrible.
Well, maybe because they
Okay.
don't have any other choice. That's why they are happy.
No,
Otherwise,
but no, because there's an element of contentment in the fact that if you know you've got no money and everyone around you's got no money, that's your life. So you just party and enjoy things. And I've seen that in many countries around the world. Sorry, Carla, we can't hear you.
I think also that relates to culture, because I know, coming from a Jamaican background, that it's rare to find people in our community when I was growing up that had a lot of money, but we always had fun. We always had food. We always had reggae. We always had color, and we always had creativity and passion, and we got together and we had a good time, because we weren't going to let the fact that money was the governing of everything rule our lives. Because actually, for some people, there are so many barriers, like I said, in their way throughout their lives, that they will never be rich, and they will never buy into the hype that if they keep working and keep grinding, that they'll get richer and richer, because they know very well that they won't, because they can see the world for what it really is. And so instead of wasting their time chasing wealth, they focus their attention on other things, and they learn to be content because they're wise. That's what I would say. And that's not me saying that people shouldn't chase wealth or whatever. That's their personal choice. But some people also make a choice not to, because they don't feel like it's worth it, because actually they don't feel there's that much is missing. You know, it's not just a case of settling. They can probably see and look and think, well, okay, I have enough for me to be able to live a happy life. And that's what they're more concerned about.
And just to add to that, the cultures where they don't really chase money, they have more core values and more kind of honor, and there's a whole different mindset to like the Western countries where the attitude is, you better get yours because I'm going to get mine, and I will stomp on you to take yours. Sorry, Victor?
I don't think there's any culture that doesn't chase money. Do you think there's any culture that doesn't chase money?
No, but Victor, what we're speaking about here is more, we're generalizing. So where you've got some cultures where it's throughout, like an academic, and you've got other cultures where people are more contented, they're more happy. Let's say they're by the beach, they're having a tropical life, or they're just chilled. You see those cultures when they sit outside. You walk down the street, you see groups of people just sitting outside, chilling, talking. If you're going to the market, it's not an hour's job like us, or 15 minutes. It's a half a day, because you talk to everybody on the way. You talk to everybody on the way back. There's a big sense of community.
Go on, Matilda. What do you have to say?
Well, maybe, Simon, it's an idea. I don't know. I'm just sharing it with you. Maybe they don't have an opportunity to work. If there is opportunity, I'm sorry, why nobody would like to have money? I mean, you can buy a lot of things. You can buy comfort. Who doesn't like to buy comfort? But if you're living in a society that even if you work hard, you're not going to get that money, or the opportunity of working is not there, okay, yeah, chilling in the beach is nice. Or if you're living in a society that government pays you, okay, why not? But for example, in America, you cannot chill and be happy and not have money. Well, you don't have food in your fridge. How can you chill and be happy?
But to add in on just based on what you said there, Howler, food in the fridge. Many cultures around the world are subsistence farmers. You have your own animals, your own crops, your own things. You have, like, if you look in the Caribbean, there's fruit trees everywhere. Mangoes, pineapples, there's just fruit everywhere. I see people selling it in the market. I'm thinking, why are you selling in the market? I can pick it from the tree. It's just falling in the gutter kind of thing. I see what you're saying. I think you're looking at it very, very westernized. But there is, if we look at the rich and famous here, most of them aren't happy. Most of them spend their time going to other places where they're more chilled and relaxed. And we all know the rich and famous get up to a few crazy things. And then,
I don't think money is happiness, but money can solve a lot of problems. And I think the attitude of people towards money should be positive. With money, you can solve. I mean, if I have the capacity to make money, or I have the knowledge to make money, I can make a lot of money, and give those money to people who cannot have that opportunity. That can be something. Or buy comfort for your family, for your neighbor, for the kids in the school. I don't know.
But then if we look at the cultures who have a lot of money, they're not really admired in the social sense. If we look at Western countries, they have high crime through the roof, from paedophilia, gangs, open gangs, all these kind of cultures, where in many other places around the world isn't really a thing to that. So, and also, when is enough? That it's actually, it becomes an issue. If you're chasing money, when is enough? Go on, Nelson.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting because we hear like a couple of different conversations going through, right? So one is about money, right? One is money, like I got money in my pocket, right? What's that song? The other one is a totally different line, which is the creation of wealth, right? Which is different from money, right? Wealth, and then there's capital, which we haven't even touched on that one, and then there's a little bit of an undertone, and I'm just my opinion. There's a little bit of that kind of the sanctity of poverty, right? Hey, these people, they have nothing and they're happy. Well, that's kind of a dangerous, slippery slope, right? One is that you have, and Matilda was kind of touching upon it, it's the creation of value, right? So you need to, and again, Carla talked about, you need to interchange stuff so you can create value, right? A lot of the modern advancements nowadays that we see are from countries that have more of a monetary system. In the past, you had a lot of advancements out of Africa. Guess what? Advanced monetary system there too. Arab countries, before these clowns that you see over there now, yes, I said it, clowns, a lot of advanced systems, right? So you have to have that creation of value so that you can have the advances of science, technology, industry, medicine, all of that requires some type of capital. What you have in other places is, can those people actually control their destiny, right? Western countries can control their futures. Why? Because they have capital. Money is what you got in your pocket. Capital is what you do to grow your economy.
Can I just counter that, actually, Nelson?
Sure.
On the concept of capital, we often hear it said that we live in a capitalist society, and sometimes people say it without even really knowing what it means. And although what you said is true, people can grow their economies, but there are detriments. There are things that are lost in other areas of capital, because there isn't just one form of capital. There are several forms of capital. One of them is money, but there is also social capital. There's human capital and other forms as well. But quite often when people focus too much on economic growth and they only see money as the capital that matters, there are losses in human capital, as we've seen around the world. We've seen the losses of millions of lives in the name of money, for decades now. And in a lot of countries where there seems to be economic growth, there are lots of humans that have lost a lot socially, economically, culturally. Many cultures around the world are in danger of dying out because of a focus too much on economic growth and the throwing away of social capital as if it's not worth anything. And also we've seen that in wars, when wars have been fought around the world, mainly for money and for economic growth and to get a foot up in the world. We've seen the loss of huge elements of human culture, the history of people. We saw in the wars that took place in the Middle East, large parts of people's cultural heritage being destroyed. And those things have a value. The grandparents and great-grandparents and the ancestors of those people that carried lots of wisdom and lots of information that can help people to sustain societies in the future was swept away and dismissed because of gas and oil and this economic development that everybody was chasing. And we see that all over the world. We see it in the US as well. We've seen major companies destroy large areas of people's land and people's livelihoods and people's history to build big corporations because they're talking about economic growth, but they're not really thinking about the types of capital that's lost behind the scenes. And also because most common everyday people who are just chasing a dollar to provide for their families don't really understand what's happening. They dismiss it as well when you talk to them about it, although it's happening right under their noses. And we're striving for a future often for children, saying that we're doing it for our children so that they can have more freedom and more choices. But actually, there won't be a world for them to have freedom and choices in many parts of the globe because of those decisions that people have made to pursue wealth to the extreme, right? Because it is the extreme. If you've got a 50-bedroom mansion, that is not developing the world in any way, shape or form. That's developing your ego. And I think a lot of those issues also need to be discussed when we're talking about capital and the role of economic development.
Right. So before we, one second, before we get into that and uncollapse that, 1 second, from Rich Meter Maid, there are little job opportunities here being Puerto Rico. The education system is horrible, and this creates undereducated people, and it leaves those people to live poor, or they move to the States and make more money, yet the cost of living is so much more, and they just barely get by. However, many see the U.S. military as a way out, and many chose that route. The system here purposely does this to keep the people. The system here purposely does this to keep people joining the military. So that's what Rich Meter Maid, who's in Puerto Rico. So
okay.
And something here from Samantha Cunningham. It depends on how you value money, what your mindset is. Some people love money so much they will destroy anyone to get it. This is a means of power to them. Some people will have money, not just to benefit themselves, but others also. Back to you, Victor.
Yeah, cool. Matilda.
Yeah.
The last comment was cool. What do you think are the benefits of capitalism and money?
For me, it was a little bit stressful to listen to this because I felt like there's a negative concept about having a lot of money. I don't understand why. Who says poverty is beautiful? There is no glory in poverty. There is no glory of not having money. I'm telling you, if you're hungry, lots of things, you don't even think about lots of things. Your values go to the window. Have you seen hungry people killing each other? Well, they don't. Moral value, religion, everything goes away. So it's important to keep. I think it's important to keep and understand the value of money, and to encourage people to go after money, to work hard, make money, spend, save. I don't know. Maybe save it in different projects that you can benefit other people, but make money. So youth needs to use their energy to make money because it's a need, it's a necessity. We need money. The world needs money.
So, hold on a second, Simon. Let me just read this out from Shez 11:11. Today, money equals opportunity for many people around the world, opportunity to have a freedom to live. However, one chooses to live depending on the value you place on it. Back to you guys.
What I was going to say, Matilda, when you said, have you seen poor people kill each other? The people who create world wars are rich. The nations, the 2 world wars were dealing with rich European countries. Iraq, all of that, rich Western countries. Poor people try and feed each other, feed themselves. That's their main purpose. If you're poor, if you've ever been poor, your only child, you're quite comfortable. You notice their main focus is, I just want to feed my children. I just want to keep them healthy.
Morality goes away when you don't have money. And I'm not saying, for example, if Matilda is talking about morality and life is good and you have to respect people, yada yada, because I haven't felt hungerness. But if Matilda is hungry for 1 year, I might come to your house, this Matilda, and might steal something from your house. Or maybe the opportunity comes, if I know there's a couple of bucks there, I might steal. I don't know what I will do. But what I'm trying to say, we think lots of cultures talk about money in such a negative way that the rich people are bad. But maybe we need to encourage our young youth that, you can make money if you work hard, if you, in a right way. So You can make money. You can do lots of amazing things in the world. You can help a lot of people. You can invent a lot of things. You can create vaccines for corona. All of these needs
But-
needs money.
Or you could create corona also.
Yeah. Matilda, Matilda, the thing is, what
Yeah.
you're saying.
Simon, just a minute. Hala, do you think rich people are bad?
Bill Gates.
No, I don't think so. I think rich people, they do understand money, and they have a good level of financial education system. Well, like Robert Kiyosaki, when he wanted to teach people about money, other people said to that guy, "Don't teach them. Let them be poor. Don't teach people about the financial intelligence, because the other people, they want to keep some people poor." And I don't think that we could poor people should be victims, but I think that we need to make awareness to the new generation about the financial education, which is very, very important, and know the real definition about money and what money can do for you. And like if in American system, when you see a lot of college students, they really wanted to have a degree, and they really wanted to pursue their passion, and they really wanted to help people, and they go to law school, and they pay a lot of money, and they have debt, and they pursue their lives with debt and mortgage, and they are distracted with what society dictates them to do, and they really forget what their real passion is about. So I do think that rich people are not bad, but I do think that also, if we want to be rich, we need to understand the financial education first.
Also, I just want to say in response to Matilda's comment as well about when people are poor, there's a loss of morality. Actually, Haula, I grew up in a poor community, and I was surrounded by people who had very strong morals. And a lot of those people, when I came back from working in the Middle East, they were still poor. They hadn't moved at all in their financial situation. They were in exactly the same circumstances, if not worse than they were when I left. But their morals hadn't changed. They were still the same good people that they were before. And I know that's not the same for everybody. You're right. Some people do turn to crime, and they do abandon all their morals to chase money. But being poor in itself doesn't force everybody to abandon their morals at all. I think that's a character thing. It doesn't really have anything to do with money. It's more to do with their character and their experiences, perhaps, and desperation. Some people can become desperate as well.
But you know what,
Matilda, just a minute. Matilda, just a second. Simon, do you think there's any glory in poverty?
No, I wouldn't say there's glory in poverty, but all right, it depends on how you look at it. Because you've got many Buddhist monks, holy people, who focus on being one within themselves and one with nature and helping people around them. And their whole, even Gandhi, he wore a loincloth to be like the general people. And he changed the whole nation, and he removed his country from a oppressive empire. So there is a certain element of glory in being the common man. Remember, what I wanted to say, Matilda, is that no matter how highly you speak of rich people, and you may look at poor people and say they should bear me and say they should be better themselves, you can only have a certain amount of rich people, because rich people depend on poor people. Do you understand? You may have a cleaner, you may have somebody who washes your car, you may have someone who someone has to be poor to cater for you. Do you understand? So,
yeah.
Sorry?
Yeah, you just mentioned someone has to be poor, but Nancy, what is poverty?
No, I mean, look.
Poverty?
Well, I mean, look, poverty is not having something that you need, right? So a person could be extremely rich and have a lot of money, but they need to have a liver transplant or a kidney transplant. And if they can't get that kidney or liver transplant, they are in poverty. So hold on one second. Shez 1111, we should encourage the young to be entrepreneurs. It's always a scary thought right there. Make creative expression a thing so that it becomes normal to have your own trade for survival. Dreams and legacy. Okay, so let me go back to that. So poverty is not having something that you need for survival. So I could use that example. Some guy, he has a lot of money or capital, but he can't get a liver transplant or a kidney transplant or a heart transplant. That person has poverty. So it's not just financial. Let me go to Rich Meter Maid. We have 7 children. Okay, we have on that graduated from Emerson in 2020, May 2020. That college costs $55,000 a year. How can anyone afford to pay that back? She has a degree in performance arts. This shouldn't even be a degree. This degree is 99% of not going to get a job. Okay, so,
Okay.
all right. So we'll take that. So
No. Just a follow-up question for you, Nelson. So what is the difference between money and capital?
So those are 2 different animals, right? And we collapsed those like so many things that on this money conversation here, we just collapsed or we made like not mutually exclusive. Money is what you have in your pocket, right? Money is, hey, look, I'm going to go buy a pizza or I'm going to put gas in the car. That's money. Capital, that's a whole separate story. That kind of goes into what Carla was talking about, right? You have human capital. You have capital of relationships. You have capital that you use to put into your brain of the people that you meet at the same level or above or below. That's all the capital, right? You'll always have more access, or we will always have more access to capital than we'll ever have money. So us talking right here is a form of capital. The audience, we're capital to each other, right? So we'll always have a lot more capital than we'll ever have money.
And they're resources. Capital is, we can think of it as resources. Yeah. Anything that you have that you can refer to as a resource, and you have to be creative. There was a comment from the audience that talked about creativity, and actually to Ritz, I would say that that degree can be useful if your child knows how to use creative talent to make themselves money. And creative talent is a resource in itself. Creativity is not something that everybody has. Some people have money, but they have no creativity. So when their money runs out or when they lose their money, they have no idea of how to get it back or how to make a new way to make money. We see that around the world today, don't we? So creativity.
With inheritances, inheritances, I'd say that you see that in some of the Arab countries that have a lot of oil money. But, once we go to other forms, they haven't gotten that resourcefulness gene, right, to be able to do that. I mean, look at Israel compared to a lot of the Arab countries. No oil except for what they get funny and they cross-drill to the Egyptians. But they have other types of capital. They have a lot of human capital, plus the backing of the United States. I'll just throw that one in there. So that is all types of human capital, okay?
Oh, yeah, I know that will get Nelson. I know that will get Simon. Matilda, what do you want to say?
I want to say something to.
I'm glad you said that.
Yes, I never said that I love rich people. I never said I love poor people. I don't think that's a definition of me liking anyone. But I just said I like money. I think money can solve a lot of problems. And back to Carla, I think I met women that they went to prostitution not because they liked the job. They went because they had sick child and they couldn't afford the money. So that was the source for them to provide. Or I've seen kids that they went to human trafficking because there was not enough money and education in their household. Or there are boys and they go to drugs and they sell drugs because it's a way of making money. So poverty can destroy some societies. A lot of crime. What happened in Paris, in Europe, for example, in one of our friends' apartment that we all know, is because the financial situation is bad. So people are trying to do bad things to other people because they need to survive. So I think poverty, if a lot of people saying money is the source of evilness. I feel like poverty is source of a lot of evilness, because a lot of bad people do a lot of bad things to each other because they need to survive. At the end of the day,
but that doesn't stop, does it, Matilda? As they go up the ranks, as they climb the wealth ladder, that doesn't change. If you're inherently a corrupt and bad person, if you have something dark in your soul, it doesn't matter how much money people give you, you're going to find a way to act that out. And I think that we would find that as you go up the ladder, you find that people still do those things, but they just do it in a different way. And we don't get to know that they do it because they have the power to hide what they do. When you're poor, you have to be blatant and break a window and jump in and steal to survive. But when you're a billionaire, how do you do it? I don't think that
taxes.
I don't think that money changes you if you have that nature.
But sometimes necessity, I don't know, maybe necessity can dictate, as circumstances dictates what you do. Maybe if you have money, you wouldn't go to prostitution. You would just act normal. But when you don't have money and your child is sick, I think you're ready to do a lot of things.
But Matilda, in the case of prostitution, I've done 2
Oh yes,
with the sugar babes. And these are
You've done what?
2 interviews with different young girls.
Important to clarify that part, okay?
Yeah,
To the audience, Simon
clarify.
has done 2 interviews of women in prostitution. Not that Simon's had 2 clients in that area, okay? I just want to clarify.
That didn't even cross my mind. Anyway, so what point being is when you hear the interviews, number 240 on Taxi Chronicles and 276. Anyway, the object of these girls aren't because they're poverty, is because they just want to be able to shop in Harrods and Selfridges and get trips to Dubai, and that was it. And I've known other people who are, you try and offer them a job and they're happy doing what they're doing. So it takes, when it,
Okay.
I believe personally, when it comes to poverty, it's usually a frame of mind. You see your parent or what they did, and you don't see yourself doing better than your parent. And I think to break that chain of mind, you need to get a good mentor or someone who's doing better.
True.
And also, there are wealthy women.
I totally get that.
There
Carla,
are wealthy women
this
that
question-
choose prostitution also, because some people choose to do it not because they're poor, but because they want to do it, and they think it's the best way for them to use their resources, because they see themselves as a resource and they see their body as a resource, and they use it to make money. Not everybody does it because they're poor. Wealthy people from wealthy backgrounds also choose prostitution.
No, I understand that. And I'm saying
that's the question I wanted to ask you, Carla.
Not. They're lacking it.
That's the question I wanted to ask you. That's the question I wanted to ask you, Carla. The lack of resources and the lack of money, does that equate to poverty or being desperate or so?
I think there's a difference between being poor and being broke. And a lot of people say they're poor, but actually they're not poor, they're broke. And I think poor is something that you're born in that situation and you don't have the resources. Like, for example, if you're born in a slum in India, or you're born in the UK to a family that has a very low income, and you go through one tragedy and trauma after another that drains the family's resources and stops you from being able to get yourself on your feet financially, I think that's poor. But broke is when you have the means to access money, you have the means to get capital, but you're not good with money. And a lot of people are in that situation. They're broke because they're not good with money. Like Matilda has mentioned a number of times about how they view money, their attitude towards money, and the way that they spend and save or don't, and what they choose to spend on, that can leave people broke. And I think that that's a definition that needs to be made. Poor is very serious situation. And I think that people who are wealthy, and who strive to accumulate wealth to the extreme sometimes disregard the poor in a way that's very callous. And I think that's also something that is a significant issue in our world today. The massive accumulation of wealth to excess is creating a big problem for poor people around the world. It's taking away resources from them in a very cruel way, and that can't be denied. And that isn't it's not something that those people can do something about, because they don't have the power to do that. the poor people, I mean. Only rich people can decide to do something about that, and people in positions of power, which are usually the same thing.
And the to emphasize Carla's point there, is that where we have in England this situation with, okay, who's going to feed all the children in the schools? And the government said, no, we're not going to feed them. Why are we paying taxes if you don't want to feed the children? But that's rich people, because people in politics are rich. It doesn't matter they earn 50 grand. They don't pay any. They get so much expenses. It's like they don't pay taxes. And then they have all these backhand deals.
One second, let me read something out right here from Shez, and I love it. Having the basic necessities, food, etc., is what we all need. If you want the surplus to be able to have more leisurely goods, then don't live a champagne lifestyle on lemonade money. Save pennies make.
Okay, great. So now we're rounding up. So we've got one more.
And we've got from Said Eldin, when I get too much money, I become afraid of death. Okay, well, we can help you live a long time, sir. We can give you a lot of peace of mind. We'll give you our address. We take Venmo, Zelle, PayPal, and we'll have you live a long and healthy life.
We'll donate it to the poor.
We'll donate it to a charity called Simon Rushton E15. Won't you?
Well, we'll give you peace of mind, sir. We'll give you a lot of peace of mind. Podcast was unleashed.
Guys, this is a very good question. This is a very good question. I would just like a brief answer to this. What Said just said about his feeling when he makes too much money. How do you guys feel when you're making money? How do you guys feel when you're getting paid, when you're getting rewarded properly for what you've just done? Because we are short of time now. So, Simon, how do you feel when you get rewarded properly?
How I can make more money?
Great. Carla, how do you feel? How did you feel?
How long is this going to last when my kids get their hands on it?
Yeah, that's a good one. I better hide this from the kids. Sorry,
Matilda, what about you?
This is going well, so I guess how can I make it more?
No, but I only want to make more money because I've got more kids. So I know, it's just going. It's just like me just doing pass the parcel. That's all.
Yeah. Hala, what about yourself?
Invest and negotiate.
Oh yeah. I feel amazing when I make more money, and when I get rewarded, I'm like, whoa, this is gonna last. I hope this is gonna last. So I think that comes to one of the biases I have against money, which I expect, not on a subconscious level, I expect it to end. So I don't know if I need to talk to someone about that, but that's just one of my feeling when it comes to money. So running up, Mr. Nelson, take it home. What is your definition of money?
Okay. Money, and again, I'm going to kind of do a big wrap up here. So definition of money is just what we pay stuff with, right? That's not capital. That's just, hey, look, I pay my electricity bill, I buy groceries, that's money. And then you've got capital, which is everything else, right? It goes in relationships, people, investment, so that's a capital. But as the first to wrap it up, it's kind of like four things. One is money is an inescapable fact of life, right? We need money to survive. We need capital to survive. That's an inescapable fact of life. And money doesn't make people good or bad. There's a rich people bad, rich people good. It's almost nothing, right? Why? Because all that money, quote unquote money, which is, I'm using the word money and capital, collapsing it, all it does is it amplifies whatever you are. If a person's a jerk, horrible, the money just makes them more of a jerk, a bigger one. If they're, let's say benevolent or generous, they can just be more of that. Okay, it just amplifies whatever it is that they're at. one thing here for families, very important when it comes to this whole thing about money and wealth, is to create value. How can I become indispensable in society? If I become indispensable in society, I will always be valued. I'll always have quote unquote money, right? That's why a lot of folks, we talked about Matilda in the Jewish culture, become a doctor, right? You can be a Nazi, you still need a doctor, right? So you become indispensable. And poor and poverty, not the same thing. People could have very little, like we talk about those places without they're playing, because they have that sense of family. And a place could, and some guy could have, hey, he could be the richest guy in the world. Great example. There's a very wealthy person that I know in South America. He slipped. He's in a wheelchair because he can't walk. When it comes to his enjoying his physical body, he's extremely poor. He's in a wheelchair. You see what I mean? So there's different types of wealth and rich. And I'm going to read up a last comment here. Samantha Cunningham, whether you have a lot of money or little, it's important that you have money literacy. Yes, we talked about that. And understand the value of money, ideally from a young age. Okay.
Yeah, so thank you very much for that, Nelson. So rounding off, so just one word. So this is gonna be like a game. And also for you audience, if you have, just tell us one thing that you think about when the word money is mentioned. Just keep the conversation going on Facebook and on YouTube. And do not forget to like this post or like this video, like this conversation on YouTube, and also subscribe. Also click the notification button if you want to like get more about more notification when we go online, when we go live next week. So one word from you guys. Simon, this is gonna be maybe like just one word. If I mention the word money, what do you think?
Children.
Yeah. So can you just tell us about your podcast?
Me?
Yeah, you.
Oh, sorry. I thought you went on to Carla. Sorry.
Yeah.
Podcast. Sorry. I have two podcasts. First one is Taxi Chronicles, where I drive in my taxi, and as people jump in, I interview them, and they give a masterclass on what their profession is, or just speak about relationship issues or whatever they want to. It's like a mobile psychiatrist chair of a 5 to 15 minute conversation where they just offload. So we've got all kind of episodes, all kind of discussions. Feel free to jump in and have a listen. On the other side of things, we also do another podcast called Africa Investor Stories, all about investing in Africa. Africa has 30% of the world's known natural resources. That means it hasn't been mapped out to know where and what natural resources they have in total. So if you're interested in hearing about opportunities of investing in Africa, it's real people who are real investors with real stories sharing their experiences. Thank you, Victor.
Great. Hala, one word. What do you think when you mention money?
Money, it's a tool to invest more and more. And for the podcast, you can find the podcast on all the platforms, Spotify and iTunes, and it's all about the stories about women, expect women around the world.
Great. So Matilda, one word. What do you think about money? When we mention money, what do you think?
Makes life more colorful. Luxury and fun and comfort. I mean that direction.
You just can't say one word, are you?
I couldn't say it. I'm like all of it in one. And my podcast is about Coffee with Matilda, and we talk about self-love and finding yourself and tuning into yourself.
Whoa. Nelson, one word. Money.
I'm going to be honest. I'm not going to talk all this fancy stuff. When it comes to money, I feel one thing. Initially, then I can work out guilt. I feel guilt.
I think I'd change my word to Victor. I think I'd change my word to possibilities.
Aha.
Uh,
You
I
see?
think
Yeah, tell us about your podcast then.
Okay, so podcast is called Investing in America, where we talk about two things. One, interviews on how to invest in U.S. real estate, not just the investment itself, but the life cycle of the investment. Plus, I have incredible interviews with interesting entrepreneurs that have nothing to do with real estate, but they have incredible business practices and incredible things about mindset, believe it or not, having to do with failure, setbacks, and the failure and setbacks that they have with money. We come out every Wednesday. I'm on Spotify and iTunes, and soon it'll be coming out on YouTube channel as well. Thank you.
Great. Carla, what do you think? One word, money.
It's got to be energy. I see it as energy.
Okay. And your podcast?
My podcast is Wonder and Wellbeing, and it's for parents and teachers of kids between the ages of 5 and 14. And we talk about everything related to education and well-being.
Great. And just the final word from me here. Money to me is an item or a tool or a medium of exchange. Simple. And one word for me for money is leverage. I still feel guilty sometimes, but I don't know, because we're still on this journey, and financial education is a must for everyone that I know of, and I encourage everyone to be more financially literate. And we on this panel, we are by no means financial experts. So if you're looking for financial advice, go and meet the experts. So we're just sharing our personal opinion regards money. And also do not forget to like, subscribe, and also the notification bell to get updates when we go live next week. And from the from Podcast Unleashed team, here we say bye-bye.